Discovery and awakening. The warning lights flashed across Dr. Marcus Chen's monitoring equipment, pulsing in angry red bursts that illuminated his weathered face. 3 months of drilling beneath the Antarctic ice shelf had finally yielded results, but not the kind he'd anticipated. The seismic anomaly that had drawn his research team to this desolate location wasn't a natural formation. "That can't be right," he muttered, adjusting his glasses and recalibrating the ground-penetrating radar. The readings remained unchanged. A perfectly symmetrical structure buried 5 kilometers beneath the ice, composed of materials that shouldn't exist in nature. Marcus keyed the comm link to the surface team. "Vasquez, are you seeing this?" His research partner's voice crackled through the speakers. "Yeah, we're getting the same readings up here. Whatever that thing is, it's massive. At least 2 kilometers long and perfectly preserved." 3 days later, the United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every major nation crowded into the chamber, their faces tense as satellite imagery revealed similar anomalies discovered across the globe. Beneath the Sahara Desert, the Mariana Trench, the Siberian permafrost, and 4 other locations. These structures appear to be artificial vessels of some kind, explained Dr. Elisa Kimura, the UN's chief scientific advisor. Initial dating suggests they've been buried for at least 50,000 years, yet they're composed of alloys we cannot replicate with current technology. The Russian delegate leaned forward. "Are we talking about alien spacecraft?" Marcus Chen, hastily flown in from Antarctica, stood at the podium. "No," he said firmly. "The designs, while advanced, contain unmistakably human elements, control interfaces designed for human hands, atmospheric compositions calibrated for human lungs. These aren't alien vessels. They're ours, or rather, they belong to human civilization that existed long before our recorded history." The chamber erupted in disbelief. Humans building interstellar warships before the invention of agriculture. It seemed impossible. Yet, as excavation teams carefully unearthed the massive vessels over the following weeks, the evidence became undeniable. The Antarctic ship, christened Prometheus by the international team, was the first to be partially exposed. A behemoth of dark, almost fluid metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Captain Samira Dawn, military specialist assigned to the excavation, stood beside Marcus as they approached the newly exposed airlock. Her hand rested instinctively on her sidearm. "You really think this thing is still operational after 50,000 years?" she asked. Marcus nodded. "The material doesn't corrode or degrade, and there are energy signatures coming from deep within the structure. Something's still active." The airlock opened with surprising ease, responding to proximity rather than physical interaction. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit by strips of bioluminescent material that activated as they advanced, revealing interiors built for beings of human proportion, but with technology that defied contemporary understanding. "This architecture," Samira whispered, running her hand along a wall inscribed with symbols that seemed almost familiar. "It feels like something built by humans, but different somehow." "A forgotten branch of humanity," Marcus agreed. "Or perhaps our ancestors were more advanced than we ever imagined." In what appeared to be the bridge, they found control stations designed for human operators. As Marcus approached the central console, the ship responded. Holographic displays illuminated the chamber, showing star charts and what appeared to be military formations. "It's a warship," Samira breathed, her tactical training allowing her to recognize the configurations. A dreadnought-class vessel, armed to the teeth. Before Marcus could respond, the entire ship hummed to life, systems awakening in cascading sequence. Across the globe, reports flooded in of the other buried vessels similarly activating. Panic gripped world governments as these ancient warships, each powerful enough to level continents, stirred from their millennia-long slumber. Within the Prometheus, a holographic figure materialized, a woman in uniform, her appearance human yet subtly different, her eyes containing a depth of knowledge that seemed impossible. Genetic identification confirmed, she announced, her voice resonating with authority. Descendants recognized. Protocol Lazarus initiated. Who are you? Marcus asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I am Admiral Cassandra Vega, commander of the Terran Defense Fleet, the hologram replied. Or rather, an artificial intelligence preservation of her consciousness. I have waited 53,428 years for suitable genetic descendants to reactivate this vessel. Why were you buried? Samira demanded. Why hide ships of this power? The holographic admiral's expression darkened. The hegemony was coming. An alien collective that had already consumed 17 civilized worlds. We fought them to a stalemate, but our civilization was fatally wounded in the process. With our population decimated and our industrial base destroyed, we made a final desperate choice. Images flashed across the displays, a terrible war among the stars, massive fleets clashing across solar systems. We hid our 7 greatest warships with skeleton crews in temporal stasis, programmed to awaken when the hegemony eventually returned, Cassandra continued. The rest of us made our final stand to ensure they believe humanity was exterminated completely. You sacrifice your entire civilization, Marcus whispered. To give you. All 7 vessels are operational, Captain, her XO responded, a Chinese naval commander named Lai Wei. The Asimov, Galileo, and Curie have achieved orbital positions. Prometheus will be the last to launch. Through the neural link, Samira could feel the ship's eagerness, an almost living presence as dormant systems fully awakened. The AI containing Admiral Vega's consciousness had explained that the neural interfaces would allow human operators to control systems that would otherwise require decades of training. The hegemony fleet has passed Mars orbit, announced the tactical officer, her Australian accent tight with tension. Approximately 47 major vessels and over 200 support craft. They'll reach Earth in 72 hours. Dr. Marcus Chen entered the bridge, his eyes bloodshot from weeks of sleepless research. The xenoarchaeologist had become the leading expert on the ancient human civilization that had built these vessels. Captain, I've completed the translation of the historical archives, he reported. You need to see this immediately. In the Admiral's ready room, Marcus displayed holographic recordings that told the full history of humanity's forgotten golden age, an advanced civilization that had spread across 12 star systems before encountering the hegemony. They weren't just hiding these ships as a last resort, Marcus explained, his voice hushed with awe. These 7 vessels represent their most advanced technology, ships that could match entire enemy fleets. The ancient humans knew that if the hegemony discovered even one of them, they would never stop hunting until they possessed the technology. So they sacrificed their entire civilization to hide their most powerful weapons, Samira concluded, ensuring that when the hegemony eventually returned, they would face an enemy they thought exterminated, wielding weapons they'd never encountered. Exactly. The Admiral's final orders were explicit. These ships were to remain hidden until the hegemony returned, no matter how many millennia passed. The communication system chimed, interrupting their discussion. Captain, Lai Wei's voice came through. The excavation is complete. Launch window opens in 30 minutes. The Prometheus rose from Antarctica with deceptive grace, its 2-kilometer length emerging from the ice like a leviathan from ancient myth. Across the globe, news feeds captured the ascent of the other warships, the Galileo from beneath the Sahara, the Curie from the Mariana Trench, the Asimov from Siberia, and 3 others from their respective hiding places. In orbit, the 7 vessels formed a defensive perimeter around Earth, black silhouettes against the planet's blue backdrop, their hulls absorbing light in ways that modern physics couldn't explain. Through her neural link, Samira could feel the other 6 captains, the chosen representatives from Russia, China, India, Brazil, Nigeria, and Japan. Despite their different languages and cultures, the ship's technology translated their thoughts into a unified tactical consciousness. The hegemony has detected our vessels, announced Admiral Vega's AI, from the holographic projector. They are accelerating. First contact in 18 hours. For those 18 hours, the crews of the 7 warships drilled continuously, learning to operate weapons platforms that could shatter planets and defensive systems that bent the fabric of reality itself. "We're still novices with these systems," Samira told the Unified Command during their final briefing. "But the ship AIs can compensate for our inexperience, and we have one advantage the ancient humans didn't. The hegemony believes they eradicated humanity. They're not expecting resistance." As the alien armada approached Earth orbit, humanity collectively held its breath. These were the same entities that had forced an advanced human civilization, one capable of interstellar travel and reality-warping technology, to sacrifice itself rather than face defeat. The first contact came without warning or communication. 3 hegemony vessels, twisted structures of biological and mechanical components fused together in nightmarish configurations, accelerated toward the Galileo, energy weapons charging. All vessels, defensive posture Alpha, Samira commanded through the neural network. "Remember your training." The Galileo's response was devastating. A pulse of concentrated dark energy erupted from its forward array, creating a gravitational shear that sliced through the lead hegemony vessel like tissue paper. The other 2 enemy ships veered away, but the Asimov and Curie had already bracketed them, their weapons turning the alien vessels into expanding clouds of debris. For a moment, the hegemony fleet seemed to hesitate, their formation shifting as they reassessed the unexpected resistance. Then, as one, they attacked. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as the battle unfolded. The ancient warships moved with impossible agility for their size, their defensive singularities absorbing enemy fire while their quantum weapons tore through the alien fleet. Yet the hegemony's numbers were overwhelming, and their biological-mechanical technology adapted rapidly to each attack. "The Asimov is taking heavy damage," reported Lai Wei, his consciousness linked with Samira's through the ship network. "Their main reactor is destabilizing." Through the neural interface, Samira felt the Russian captain's grim determination as he made his decision. The Asimov accelerated directly toward the center of the enemy formation, its damaged reactor deliberately pushed into cascade failure. The resulting explosion created a temporary quantum rift that consumed 27 hegemony vessels in an instant. The sacrifice bought precious time, but the remaining alien ships pressed their attack with renewed fury. "They're adapting to our quantum weapons," Marcus observed from his station, monitoring the tactical data. "Each attack is becoming less effective." Samira nodded, feeling the ship's AI suggesting alternative approaches through the neural link. All vessels switched to gravitational lance configuration, concentrate fire on their command ships. The battle raged for hours, Earth's cities witnessing flashes of impossible energies illuminating the night sky. 2 more ancient warships fell, the Curie sacrificing itself to protect a population center from a hegemony planet-killer weapon. The Galileo torn apart by a swarm of smaller enemy craft that bypassed its defenses. Within the Prometheus, damage reports flooded in as hegemony weapons found their mark. Life support failed on 3 decks, and the main propulsion system operated at only 60% efficiency. "Captain," Marcus called out, his voice cutting through the chaos of battle, "I've analyzed their attack patterns. They're not trying to destroy the ships. They're trying to capture them." The realization hit Samira like a physical blow. This had been the ancient humans' greatest fear, that the hegemony would acquire their technology and become truly unstoppable. Through the neural interface, she communicated with the remaining 3 captains. Their consensus was immediate and unanimous. "Admiral," Samira addressed the AI, "initiate Protocol Omega." The holographic figure of Admiral Vega nodded solemnly. Authentication confirmed. Protocol Omega authorized. Deep within each remaining warship, systems that had remained dormant even after their awakening surged to life. These weren't weapons designed to destroy enemies. They were meant to rewrite reality itself. "All personnel, brace for dimensional shift." Samira announced, gripping her command chair as the Prometheus began to vibrate with building energy. The 4 remaining warships positioned themselves at precise coordinates around the hegemony fleet, creating a perfect tetrahedron. From each vessel, beams of absolute darkness, not energy, but the absence of it, connected to form a perfect geometric prison. "What's happening?" asked Lai Wei, his face pale as space itself seemed to fold inward around the enemy fleet. Marcus watched the readings with scientific awe. "They're creating a pocket universe, a separate dimensional bubble. They're removing the hegemony from our reality entirely." The strain on the ancient vessels was catastrophic. Systems overloaded, hulls buckled under forces they were never designed to withstand for extended periods. But the prison held, and one by one, the hegemony ships vanished from normal space, not destroyed, but exiled to a micro-universe from which there was no escape. When it was finally over, the 4 surviving warships drifted in Earth orbit, their power systems nearly depleted, their hulls scarred and broken. But beyond them, space was clear. The hegemony threat had been contained. In the days that followed, as repair crews worked to stabilize the damaged vessels, humanity confronted a new reality. They were not alone in the universe, and more importantly, they were not the first human civilization to reach for the stars. "What happens now?" Samira asked Marcus as they stood in the Prometheus observation deck, looking down at the planet they had saved. "We rebuild," he replied simply. "We learn from the technology and knowledge left by our ancestors, and we prepare." "For what?" Marcus gestured to the stars beyond the viewport. The archives mentioned 17 worlds consumed by the hegemony. There could be other threats out there, or allies waiting to be discovered. Our ancestors gave us this second chance. Now it's up to us to honor their sacrifice by ensuring humanity never falls again. As Earth's nations began the process of integrating the recovered technology, the ancient warships remained vigilant in orbit, sentinels from a forgotten age, ready to defend humanity once more should the need arise. The sleeping giants had awakened, and with them, humanity's true destiny among the stars.